My beloved child, I know the tears you hide, the ones that fall quietly when no one is watching, the ones you wipe away quickly so the world will not ask questions you do not have the strength to answer. And I want you to hear me clearly now, because even when your voice breaks in silence, even when your prayers come out as sighs rather than words, I hear you completely and without interruption. For not a single tear escapes my notice, and not a single ache in your heart goes unseen by me. I see you when you lie awake at night, staring into the darkness, replaying moments that hurt more than you admit, wondering how you became so tired inside while still showing strength on the outside. And I am close to you in those moments, nearer than you realize, holding your heart steady when emotions threaten to overwhelm you. You may feel alone in your crying because you do not want to burden others, because you have learned to be strong, because you fear being misunderstood or judged, and I understand that, my child. Yet you were never meant to carry sorrow by yourself, and especially not away from me, because I invite you to bring every hidden pain into my presence without fear. I know there are wounds you have never spoken aloud, disappointments you buried deep, prayers you stopped praying out loud because they hurt too much to repeat, and I am not distant from those places in you. I am present there, gentle and attentive, because I am drawn to the brokenhearted, not repelled by them. You may wonder if crying in secret means you are weak, if it means your faith is failing, but listen to me now, because tears are not a sign of weakness. They are evidence that your heart is alive, that you still hope, that you still care, and I treasure that tenderness more than you know. I see how you try to be composed during the day, how you fulfill your responsibilities, how you show up even when your spirit feels heavy, and I honor that perseverance. Yet I do not want you to believe that strength means silence, because true strength is allowing yourself to be held when you are hurting. My child, there are cries you have released that no human ear has heard, cries that rose from the deepest part of you, and I was there for every one of them, receiving them not as noise, but as prayers, for even your tears speak to me when words fail. I know you sometimes question whether your pain matters, whether others have it worse, whether you should simply be grateful and move on. And while gratitude is good, minimizing your pain is not something I ask of you, because I care about what hurts you personally, not in comparison to anyone else, but exactly as it is. There are moments when you cry because you feel misunderstood, moments when you cry because something you hoped for did not come, moments when you cry because you were tired of being patient, tired of being strong, tired of waiting for change. And I want you to know that I am not impatient with your tears. I do not rush you through grief, and I do not demand quick healing, because love that heals does not hurry. You may feel ashamed that you still cry about things you thought you were over, that old pain resurfaces unexpectedly, that emotions return when you least expect them. But healing is not a straight path, and returning tears do not mean failure. They simply mean there is still tenderness that needs care, and I am here to provide it. My child, I see how you sometimes cry because you feel unseen, because your efforts are unnoticed, because your kindness is taken for granted, and those tears matter to me, because I see every act of love you give without recognition, every sacrifice you make quietly, every moment you choose compassion, even when you feel empty, and I remember them all. There are nights when your tears fall because you are afraid of the future, afraid of repeating past pain, afraid of trusting again, and I am with you in those fears, not dismissing them, but surrounding you with my peace little by little, reminding you that fear does not get to define your story. I know you sometimes cry because you feel far from me, because my presence feels quiet, because answers seem delayed, and you wonder if I am listening at all. And I tell you now with certainty that I am listening more closely than you realize, because silence does not mean distance, and waiting does not mean neglect. My child, there are tears you cried that saved you, tears that released what would have hardened your heart, tears that kept you soft when pain tried to make you bitter, and I have used even your crying as a way to protect your soul. I am not asking you to stop crying, and I am not telling you to be strong all the time, because there is strength in vulnerability, and there is healing in letting yourself be seen by me exactly as you are. When you cry in secret, let those moments become places where you turn toward me rather than away, where you speak honestly rather than holding everything inside, because I am not overwhelmed by your emotions, and I am not disappointed by your tears. I am moved by them. I know there are prayers hidden inside your crying, unspoken desires, unanswered questions, and I am working on those things even now, not always in ways you can immediately recognize, but always with your good in mind. You may not feel comfort right away, and peace may come slowly, but I promise you this, my beloved, you are never crying alone, because I am with you, hearing you, holding you, and gently healing you in ways that go deeper than words. And this is only the beginning of what I will do as you allow me to meet you in the quiet places where your tears fall. For I am close to the brokenhearted. I save those who are crushed in spirit, and I will not let your secret cries go unanswered.
My beloved child, I know the loneliness that settles in your heart when you feel misunderstood, when words fail to express the depth of what you are carrying, when even those closest to you cannot fully grasp why certain things hurt you so deeply. And I want you to listen carefully now, because there is nothing about your pain that is confusing to me, nothing about your struggle that I dismiss or overlook, for I understand you completely, not only because I see your circumstances, but because I know your heart. I know how isolating it feels when people offer quick advice instead of compassion, when they say you should be over it by now, when they minimize what you feel because they cannot see it clearly. And I know how that makes you retreat inward, choosing silence rather than trying to explain yourself again. You are not wrong for feeling this way, my child, and you are not weak for wanting to be understood, because you were created for connection, and when that connection feels broken or incomplete, the ache is real. I see the moments when you start to speak and then stop, deciding it is easier to keep things inside than to risk being misunderstood again. And I am with you in those moments, listening patiently, because you never have to edit your feelings when you speak to me. I know the complexity of what you are feeling, how joy and sadness can exist together, how gratitude and grief can occupy the same space in your heart, and how confusing it can be to explain that to others who see life in simple categories. Yet I understand the layers, the contradictions, and the quiet struggles that make up your inner world. My child, I understand your pain not from a distance, but from closeness, because I have walked through sorrow, rejection, betrayal, and loneliness, and I know what it is like to be surrounded by people and still feel alone, to speak truth and still be misunderstood, to love deeply and still experience loss. When you feel as though no one truly sees what you are going through, remember that I see beyond appearances, beyond words, beyond what you choose to show, and I know exactly where it hurts and why. I see how certain memories still affect you, how certain words spoken long ago still echo in your mind, how experiences you thought were over still shape how you feel today. And I do not rush you to forget or move on, because healing is not about erasing the past, it is about allowing it to be transformed. You may feel guilty for still carrying pain, wondering why you cannot simply let go, why you are not stronger, why others seem to move on more easily. But listen to me now, because your journey is your own, and I do not measure your healing by speed, but by honesty and trust. I understand the exhaustion that comes from holding everything together, from being the one others rely on, from always appearing capable while inside you feel overwhelmed. And I know how heavy that responsibility can feel when no one asks how you are really doing. My child, you do not need to be strong in my presence, and you do not need to have everything figured out, because I already know the parts of you that are tired, confused, and hurting, and I welcome you as you are, not as you think you should be. I understand the fear that keeps you guarded, the fear of being hurt again, the fear of trusting the wrong person, the fear of opening up only to feel dismissed, and I am gentle with that fear, because it often comes from wounds that were never given the care they needed. When you feel misunderstood, it can be tempting to believe that your pain doesn't matter, that you should simply endure quietly, that asking for understanding is asking too much. But I tell you this with love, your pain matters to me deeply, and you never have to justify it in my presence. I see how you long for someone to truly listen, not to fix you, not to rush you, but to sit with you in the heaviness, and I am that presence for you.
patient, attentive, and unchanging. There are times when misunderstanding has made you doubt yourself, question your feelings, or wonder if you are overreacting, and I want you to know that I do not question your sincerity or minimize your experience, because I know your heart and I know the truth of what you have lived. My child, I understand why certain things trigger your emotions, why certain seasons feel harder than others, why certain prayers come with tears rather than confidence, and I am not frustrated by that complexity. I am present in it. You may not always be able to explain your pain to others, and that is okay, because you do not need universal understanding to heal. You need a safe place to be known, and I am that place for you. When you bring your confusion, your sadness, your unanswered questions to me, I hold them with care, and even when clarity does not come immediately, comfort begins to grow, slowly and gently, like light entering a dark room at dawn. I understand that being misunderstood has made you cautious, quieter, more reserved, and I am patient as you learn to trust again, because trust that is built slowly often becomes stronger than before. My child, you are not alone in your pain, even when it feels that way, because I am with you in every emotion, every thought, every quiet struggle you face, and I will continue to walk with you, listen to you, and heal you, not by forcing change, but by staying close until the day comes when you realize that even when no one else seemed to understand, you were fully understood by me.
My beloved child, I know how discouraging it feels when pain stays longer than you thought it would, when you believed time would make it easier, when you expected wounds to close by now, yet certain memories still sting, certain emotions still rise unexpectedly. And I want you to listen carefully to me now, because lingering pain does not mean you are broken. It does not mean you failed to heal, and it does not mean I have abandoned the work I began in you. For healing is often gentle, layered, and gradual, and I am working with patience and care in places that are deeper than you realize. I see how you sometimes grow frustrated with yourself, wondering why you still feel this way, why certain days feel heavy again, why progress seems uneven. And I want you to release that self-judgment, because healing is not a straight line, and returning pain does not erase the growth you have already experienced. There are wounds that formed over long periods of time, wounds shaped by repeated disappointments, unmet needs, broken trust, and silent endurance. And those wounds require tenderness, not pressure, because rushing healing can harden the heart rather than restore it. My child, I am not trying to erase your past as if it never happened, because your story matters, and what you lived through shaped your compassion, your depth, and your understanding. And instead of removing your memories, I am transforming how they live within you, softening their grip, reducing their power, and teaching your heart that pain no longer controls your present or your future. I know there are moments when you feel tired of carrying emotions you cannot fully explain, moments when you wish I would simply take the pain away instantly, and I understand that desire, yet I also know that instant relief does not always lead to lasting peace, because what is healed too quickly can reopen under pressure, but what is healed deeply becomes strong and steady. You may feel impatient with the process, but I am not, because I see how each layer of healing prepares you for the next, how each moment of honesty brings freedom, how each time you choose to stay soft instead of shutting down, your heart grows more resilient. My child, lingering pain does not mean I am far from you. It often means I am very close, working carefully so that nothing important is missed, because I do not heal carelessly, and I do not overlook hidden wounds just to make things feel better temporarily. I see the times when pain resurfaces without warning, triggered by words, places, or seasons, and I know how confusing that feels, how it can make you question whether you are moving backward. Yet those moments are not setbacks, they are invitations to let me bring healing into places that are ready now, even if they were not ready before. Healing happens in stages, because your heart can only process so much at once, and I honor your limits, I respect your pace, and I never demand more vulnerability than you are able to give in a moment. I know how easy it is to compare your healing to others, to wonder why some seem to move on quickly while you are still working through pain. But comparison will only deepen discouragement, because every heart carries a unique story, and every healing journey unfolds according to what that heart has endured. My child, I am not disappointed in you for needing time, and I am not measuring your progress against anyone else, because my concern is not speed, but wholeness. I see how pain has made you cautious, how it taught you to guard yourself, how it shaped your responses and expectations. And while some of that caution protected you, I am now teaching you which walls can come down safely, which fears no longer serve you, and which wounds are ready to be released. Healing often feels slow because it requires trust, and trust grows gently, especially when it has been broken before. And I am patient as you learn to trust me with parts of your heart you once kept hidden. You may not notice healing happening because it often shows itself quietly, in moments when you react with more calm than before, when memories hurt a little less, when peace returns more quickly after sadness. And these small changes are signs that your heart is mending, even if the pain has not fully disappeared yet. My child, do not rush yourself through healing, and do not shame yourself for still hurting, because I am not ashamed of your wounds, and I am not tired of walking with you through them. And every moment you stay open to me, even when it hurts, brings you closer to the freedom you long for. There will come a day when the pain that feels overwhelming now will no longer define you, when it will become part of your story rather than the center of it. And when that day comes, you will not feel empty or hardened, but stronger, wiser, and more compassionate, because healing done gently leaves the heart tender, not closed. Stay with me in this process, my beloved, even when it feels slow, even when you wish it were finished already, because I am healing you with care, protecting what is fragile, strengthening what is weak, and restoring you in a way that will last. And though the pain may linger for a time, it will not have the final word, because I am faithful to complete the healing I have begun in you.
My beloved child, I know how cautious your heart has become, how carefully you guard what you feel, how you hesitate before trusting again, because you remember what it cost you the last time you opened yourself fully. And I want you to hear me clearly now, because your fear of opening your heart is not a failure of faith. It is the language of a heart that learned through pain. And I am not here to shame you for that fear, but to guide you gently toward a trust that is safe, wise, and anchored in me. I see how you learned to protect yourself, how disappointment taught you to hold back, how broken promises made you question whether vulnerability is worth the risk, and I understand why you hesitate now, because once hurt, the heart becomes careful, and that carefulness is not weakness, it is survival. Yet survival is not where I want you to remain, my child, because while walls can protect you from pain, they can also block the love, connection, and peace you were created to receive. And I am teaching you the difference between healthy boundaries and hardened barriers. I am not asking you to trust everyone, and I am not telling you to ignore wisdom or warning signs, because discernment is a gift and caution can be loving. But I am inviting you to trust me enough to let me lead you into relationships, situations, and moments where your heart can open without being crushed again. You fear opening your heart because you do not want to relive the pain, because you are tired of healing, tired of rebuilding, tired of starting over, and I know how exhausting that feels. Yet I remind you gently that healing does not mean you will never feel pain again. It means you will not be destroyed by it, because you are no longer walking alone. My child, trust that is rebuilt slowly often becomes stronger than trust that was never tested, and the fear you feel now does not mean you are incapable of loving or hoping again. It means you are learning to love wisely, with discernment, and with me at the center. I know you sometimes confuse vulnerability with danger, openness with weakness, and trust with foolishness, because past experiences blurred those lines. Yet I am patiently teaching you that vulnerability with me is safe, that opening your heart in my presence will never lead to regret, and that when you let me guide your steps, you will not be exposed without protection.
I see how you analyze everything now, how you replay conversations, how you hesitate before sharing your thoughts or feelings, and how you keep parts of yourself hidden to avoid disappointment. And while that vigilance once served you, it no longer needs to control you, because I am with you now, watching over your heart more carefully than you ever could on your own. My child, I am not asking you to rush trust, because rushed trust can be fragile, but I am inviting you to let trust grow gradually, like a seed planted in safe soil, watered with patience, and protected from harsh conditions. And this kind of trust will not leave you exposed or ashamed. You may fear that if you open your heart again, you will be hurt the same way, but remember that you are not the same person you were then, and you are not walking without guidance now, because you have learned, grown, and become more discerning, and I am actively leading you, guarding you, and giving you peace when something is right, and restraint when something is not. I know how deeply you want connection, how much you long to be understood, loved, and accepted without having to hide parts of yourself, and I want you to know that desire is not wrong, because I placed it within you, and I intend to fulfill it in ways that bring life rather than pain. My child, when you feel fear rise at the thought of opening your heart, pause and bring that fear to me rather than letting it decide for you, because fear speaks loudly, but it does not speak truthfully, and I will help you distinguish between caution that protects and fear that restricts. There are people and opportunities I will bring into your life that will feel different, calmer, safer, and aligned with peace rather than pressure, and I will not rush you into them or demand immediate trust, because I honor your pace and respect your healing. I see how you worry that trusting again means forgetting what you learned, but trust guided by me does not erase wisdom, it builds upon it, allowing you to move forward without becoming guarded or cynical, open without becoming naive. My child, I am restoring your ability to trust, not by convincing you that nothing will ever hurt again, but by teaching you that even if pain comes, you will not face it alone, and it will not define or destroy you, because you are held securely in my love. You are learning that trust does not mean giving everyone access to your heart. It means giving me access to lead your heart. And when I lead, I do so gently, patiently, and with your good always in mind. I know opening your heart feels risky right now, but remaining closed forever would cost you more than you realize, because love withheld becomes sorrow, and hope suppressed becomes heaviness, and I do not want that for you. Walk with me as I teach you how to trust again, step by step, moment by moment, not recklessly, not fearfully, but wisely and peacefully, because I am not leading you back into pain. I am leading you into freedom, connection, and renewal. And as you allow your heart to open under my care, you will discover that trust built with me at the center is not something to fear, but something that heals, strengthens, and restores you more deeply than you thought possible.
My beloved child, as you arrive here, I want you to notice the quiet shift within you, the subtle sense that something has changed, not because all pain has vanished, not because every question has been answered, but because you are no longer standing in the same place you once were. And this matters more than you realize, for healing is often recognized not by the absence of hurt, but by the presence of peace where turmoil once ruled. I have been walking with you through every tear, every hesitation, every moment you wanted to retreat, and every moment you chose to stay open. And now, I want you to hear me clearly as I speak into this new space forming in your heart, because I am not only healing you from what was, I am also preparing you for what is ahead, and I will not leave you to navigate it alone. You may feel cautious about calling yourself healed, afraid of speaking too soon, worried that hope might disappoint you again. And I understand that hesitation, my child, because wounds that once cut deeply make the heart careful. Yet I gently remind you that healing does not require certainty, it requires trust. And trust grows not from guarantees, but from companionship, knowing you are not walking forward by yourself. I know there are days when you still feel tender, moments when emotions resurface unexpectedly, and you wonder if you are truly moving forward at all. But listen to me now, because progress is not erased by difficult days, and wholeness does not mean perfection, it means integration, the ability to carry your story without being crushed by it.
You are learning how to live with what happened without reliving it constantly, how to remember without reopening wounds, how to move forward without denying the past, and this balance is a sign of deep healing taking root within you. I see how you respond differently now, how certain things no longer hold the same power over you, how you pause instead of panicking, how you breathe instead of shutting down. And though these changes may feel small, they are evidence that my work has been steady and real. My child, I have not rushed you through this process because your heart is precious to me, and what is rebuilt slowly stands stronger than what is repaired in haste. And now, as you step forward, you are doing so with wisdom earned through endurance, compassion shaped by pain, and humility formed through waiting. You may fear that moving forward means forgetting, that healing means pretending nothing hurt you. But I tell you gently that I do not ask you to forget what shaped you. I ask you to release what no longer needs to define you, because your story includes pain, but it is not limited to it, and there is more ahead than what lies behind. I know you sometimes worry about returning to old patterns, about being triggered again, about losing the ground you have gained, and I want you to remember this truth. You are not walking forward on your own strength. You are walking with me, and I will continue to guide you, correct you gently, and steady you when you feel unsure. Healing does not mean you will never struggle again. It means you now know where to turn when you do, and that knowledge changes everything. You are learning that when emotions rise, you do not have to face them alone. When fear whispers, you do not have to obey it. And when uncertainty appears, you do not have to stop moving, because I am with you, walking at a pace that honors your heart. My beloved, there are new opportunities ahead of you, new connections, new seasons, and though they may stir a mix of excitement and fear, you do not need to shrink back, because you are not the same person you were before, and you are not stepping into the future without preparation. I have been strengthening you quietly, teaching you discernment, grounding you in truth, and restoring your ability to hope without losing yourself. And these gifts will serve you well as you move forward. You may not feel completely confident yet, but confidence will grow as you walk, not before, and I will meet you in each step, offering reassurance when you need it and silence when you need space to breathe. My child, I am not leading you toward a life free of challenges, but toward a life anchored in peace, where challenges no longer steal your sense of worth or direction, and where difficulties become moments of growth rather than sources of despair. I know you sometimes look back and wonder why things had to hurt so deeply, why healing took so long, why the road was not easier. And though you may not have every answer now, I want you to trust that nothing you endured was wasted, because even pain has been transformed into wisdom within you. Even tears have softened your heart rather than hardened it, and even waiting has taught you patience that will bless you and others in ways you cannot yet see. You are becoming someone who listens more deeply, loves more intentionally, and understands more compassionately. And this transformation is a quiet miracle unfolding within you. My child, do not underestimate what you carry now, not in the sense of burden, but in the sense of strength, because you carry resilience shaped by trust, faith refined by silence, and hope that has survived disappointment. And these qualities will guide you forward more faithfully than certainty ever could. As you walk into what comes next, remember that you do not need to rush, you do not need to prove anything, and you do not need to fear regression. Because healing is not something you complete and leave behind. It is something you live into daily, and I will continue to walk with you as long as you invite me. When doubts return, come back to me. When fear rises, bring it to me. And when joy appears, share it with me. Because I delight in walking with you through every part of your journey, not only the broken parts, but the restored ones as well. My beloved, you are not who you were when this journey began, and you are not alone as it continues, because I am with you now and always, guiding you gently, loving you deeply, and leading you forward with peace. If this message has spoken to your heart, if you have felt comfort, clarity, or hope through these words, subscribe to this channel and stay close, because I will continue to walk with you, speak to you, and remind you of who you are and how deeply you are loved.